Ime, 911 dispatcher. Just started the overnight shift earlier last year. Not what I expected, but it pays the bills. Was not looking for anything exciting or life-changing, just steady work. Figured I'd answer calls, pass info to the police, and go home. I know for some people it can be quite traumatic and really stressful, but I thought I could just get through it. Shift's mostly quiet anyway. Just a few hang-ups, a couple drunks, maybe a domestic dispute or two. I've had a few more serious cases so far, but nothing I could not handle. You get used to it. One night, around 4 a.m, phone rings. Standard stuff. Probably just someone needing directions or asking if we can turn off their alarm. Answer it. 911, what is your emergency? Long pause. Then a voice, shaky, female, probably mid-40s. I don't know if I should call. Immediately feel the change in her tone. It's hesitant, but not the usual scared-sounding caller. I think someone has been following me. Suddenly more alert. This is not your typical call. Most of these followed calls end up being paranoia or bad neighbors. Nothing to investigate. Still, something about her tone is different. Where are you right now? Pull up the map on my screen, ready to send an officer if it is needed. I'm in my apartment, 4th floor, at the end of the hall. She pauses for a moment and I can hear breathing. But it's more than that. I wait for her to continue. I've been hearing someone walking outside my door at night. I thought I was just being paranoid, but every time I sleep, I hear it. And this is starting to feel off. We get these calls sometimes, but usually it's something harmless, like a neighbor or a guy coming home late. And last night, she says, her voice shaking, I heard scratching on the door. Scratching? That's not normal, not a typical complaint. Ma'am, I'm going to send someone to your location so they can help you out. Professional tone. We are trained to keep our composure no matter how distressing the situation, but something about this does not sit right with me. I'm setting up the unit dispatch when she cuts in. No, it's not just the door, it's something in the walls. She is freaking out, but I can hear it in her voice. She is scared, not just confused. I hear it scratching, tapping behind the walls, and it's getting closer to my bedroom. What the hell is going on? I don't want to dismiss her, but this sounds way out of the ordinary. Most of the time, it's people hearing things, but she seems dead serious. Ma'am, I've sent an officer to your location. Stay on the line with me, okay? She agrees, but I can hear the anxiety in her voice, like she's losing control of the situation. I stay on the line, listening to her rapid breathing, trying to make sense of it all. I just want to get the officer there, but something does not feel right. After a few minutes, I hear what sounds like an officer's voice faintly in the background. Ma'am, we're here. We will check things out. I can't catch all the words, just the background noise, and then her voice again. Don't open it. Don't open the door. Then a loud crash. A few seconds of silence. I am holding my breath, waiting for something, anything. Ma'am, is everything all right? I ask, but the line is dead silent. More static than before, just a low buzzing. Then I hear something strange, another voice down the end of the phone. It's muffled, and I can't clearly make it out, but they are shouting at this woman. Something about something she knows. I freeze. I've been working long enough to know that that voice did not sound like one of our officers. No one I've ever worked with before anyway. I'm trying to stay calm, but I feel my heart rate spike. I grab for the keyboard, typing furiously, trying to pull up the report. I need to know where the unit is, who was dispatched, anything. But the system is glitching. I can't access the file, it's all blank. I try calling the number back, but it won't connect. Try again, same thing, no signal. At this point, I am starting to panic, like really lose my shit. I should be able to find out what happened, where the officers are, why it's all blank. But it's like the whole thing is being erased or The system isn't tracking it, I'm not really sure. I call up the dispatch supervisor, but they don't pick up. Now I'm really on edge. Something is wrong, I know it is, but I can't figure it out. I finally managed to get a hold of the dispatch supervisor after a couple more rings, and he was confused why I was so worried. I gave him the rundown of the situation. He told me he would check things out and take over the call, that I needed to take a break and just calm down, and that my current demeanor was not good for anyone calling. He told me later on that the officer got there fine, and that the lady who called was just extremely paranoid. Said something about missed medication, and that she had a history of calling in like this. I felt a little relieved, but it still struck me as odd. Normally, the supervisor would never take over a call unless the situation was extreme, but I guess with how I was reacting, it would not be good for the morale of the caller. It was unusual for me. I had never reacted that way before. The dispatch supervisor was friendly enough too, although outside work interactions, I'd never talked to them. Had only worked with them on shift, maybe once before a couple of weeks ago. I checked the reports for the apartment complex at a different time, but that is when things really start to get weird. Normally, I would not have access to some of these things outside of a call, but let's just say I have a friend inside the force. And by that, I mean there is this guy desperately in love with me and wants to impress me really badly. That's another story though, and very off topic. He is always giving me bits of gossip I should never know about, and he was more than happy to help when I brought it up. I did not mention much, just said I got a weird dispatch call and wanted to see if I could get closure. Anyway, the building had recently changed ownership. I look up the new management company's details. Nothing on there, just a standard transfer. But then I find something from the old owner's files. They were under investigation for covert operations and unlawful surveillance. The words do not make sense at first, but I keep reading. Nothing about it gets cleared up, but there is this one line that stops me cold. Personnel classified, restricted access. I go back to check the records on the woman who called. She had only been living there for a few weeks, but the officer who was supposed to have been sent to her apartment, his name does not exist in the system. I double check and nothing. It's like he was never there. It's all gone. The guy in the force that I know, he said he'd never even heard of the guy, and they supposedly work in the same department, had never seen him even once. I don't know what's happening anymore, but I'm starting to think something much bigger is going on here. It's not a simple mistake. It's not a glitch in the system. It's like there is something being hidden from me. I can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. I keep trying to shake off the weirdness, but it's eating at me. I start rechecking the call records from the night before. The woman's call. It's completely gone from the logs. I've been doing this long enough to know that's not normal. I try looking up the unit dispatch to her apartment, but there is nothing there either. It's like the whole thing has either been scrubbed from the system or was never logged in the first place, which doesn't make sense because I know I logged it. I double check the call log for the shift and start looking for any pattern. Maybe it's just an error, but why would something like that get deleted? I check the call history for that complex specifically. Nothing out of the ordinary, no major incidents, but that is odd in itself. Most places like that are full of noise, loud neighbors, fights, petty arguments. Yet this place, not a single serious call in the logs. I am feeling more and more uneasy as I dig through the data. I know I should not be poking around this much, but it's hard to ignore the gaps. I call up a fellow dispatcher I trust, someone who has been around longer than me. Hey, you ever hear of a unit called out to building name? The second I ask, I hear a hesitation on the other end. What are you talking about? The building. I had a call about it last night, but I can't find any record of the unit being sent. There is another long pause, and I start getting the feeling I'm pushing something I should not. Yeah, that happens sometimes, they finally say. Stuff gets lost in the system, it's pretty old and you know how that stuff goes. I don't buy it. Dispatcher 1's been in the job long enough to know the system doesn't just lose calls like that. They know as well as anyone else that would be a major security and safeguarding issue and would cause a lot of legal problems for the department. But I don't press it. The more I think about it, the more the whole situation bugs me. I can't ignore the feeling that something is being swept under the rug. I go back to the woman's call. What did she say again? Something about being followed, hearing scratching in the walls. I mean, she could just be a schizo, but I don't know. I just keep coming back to the same question. Why is the woman's call completely missing? Why did no officer report? Why did my supervisor take over like that so eagerly when it wasn't an extreme situation? Why is everyone brushing this aside when I try and report it as just a system error when that is something incredibly serious? I'm starting to get a sinking feeling that it's not just a technical issue. I just had to stop asking around. If there is something going on, I don't want to know. I don't want to get involved in anything like that. I've seen how this stuff works. Things get brushed aside if it's a messy situation, and I'm not about to stir things up if it's just a fluke. So I let it go for the night, but it's still eating at me. I brought it up to the guy I mentioned in the force. At first he was really curious because originally I did not reveal too many details. But once I mentioned where it happened and how my supervisor was acting, which building it happened in, he tried to hide it, but I could see him sweating. Started really clamming up. Told me I needed to leave because he had an emergency and that I could not be there. He has not talked to me in weeks. Let me tell you, this dude would text me obsessively every single day. Not normal at all. Someone fucking help me out here, X, and reassure me that either I'm schizo or the caller was schizo. What the fuck is going on at this apartment complex? I brought it up to the dispatch supervisor on shift, a different one, but once he realized what I was snooping for, he cut me off and told me to just do my fucking job instead of playing Scooby-Doo. Nothing like this has happened to me again, just a one-off thing. I've never had any other calls disappear or anything like that. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you do and you want to hear more, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel and leave a comment down below, as it lets the algorithm know that you like my content and it promotes it to more people. My goal for the channel is to hit 50,000 subscribers, and we're closing in fast, so thank you, and back to the stories. Working in a shithole bar. Next to the bar sits a large, empty field. Bar is in a residential area, so people walk there all the time. They have to pass the field on the way. Every now and then, a customer will tell me a story about the field. Stories are all kinda different, but they always involve hearing something they cannot explain. I take these stories with a grain of salt, because after all, this is a bar, and most of these people are usually a little drunk when they tell me these stories. But one day, one of my favorite regulars and I are chit-chatting. He is a real down-to-earth, redneck kind of guy. The last person I'd expect to hear something weird from. But he says he was leaving the bar one night. He was passing the field when he heard someone splashing through the puddles in the grass. It had recently rained. He looked. Nobody there. But he can see the puddles splashing violently. Water is jumping straight up, like someone is stomping the water. Kinda spoopy on its own. But then he says that a few weeks ago, he was walking by the field and heard something like a bull trotting around. That is exactly how he described it. Not a horse, a bull. Big heavy hoofbeats. He said it sounded like some big animal was stomping around back and forth. The guy said he got chills and took off for home. This guy is a told old dude, so the fact that he admitted that alone made me believe him. Just have a few more things. Anyway, like I said, he was not the only one who mentioned something like this. That is another reason why I kinda believe it. I will keep this short. Another customer tells me he was walking home once. He hears something in the field. Unlike the other guy, this customer did not liken the sound to anything, could not even describe it. He just said It was the weirdest sound I ever heard. So he paused to listen. Everything seemed totally silent, except for this weird sound. No wind, no leaves rustling, nothing. Then the sound stops, and the man hears something else. Sounds like footsteps walking towards him from the far side of the field. He listens to them approaching for a moment before noping the fuck out and rushing home. He never saw a soul. Then I've heard another story similar to his. A few different people have said that they've heard what sounded like someone walking alongside them in the grass. They will just be walking home, and they will hear footsteps in the grass next to them, following them. Anyway, I never heard anything myself, and it's not like this was a regular occurrence, but I did hear multiple people mention stories like these over many years. While exploring an unmapped passage of an epic cave system, my group and I had one of the scariest experiences of our lives. We had been expecting to find an exit, but then the whole situation turned into a race against time. Suddenly, we heard strange sounds, and my friend suggested we get out because of them. At first, I thought it was just bats flying around, and I convinced him it must be a large room ahead. But then he said it sounded like an airplane overhead, and that is when I realized what was about to happen. I tried to brush it off, but deep down, I knew the water surge was coming. We had been exploring a section of the cave that I thought was unmapped. We thought an exit was just ahead, and we had left our bags behind as we assumed the end was near. But when we heard the roar of the water getting louder, we realized how serious the situation was. We had no time left to waste. I quickly turned to my friend and yelled that we had to climb to a higher part of the cave, a large dome room that seemed to be completely dry, and the perfect place to wait out the surge. We scrambled through a narrow tunnel and made it to the dry part just as the water surged in, pouring from above. The temperature dropped, and we sat there in complete panic, watching the water levels rise. It was an agonizing few minutes where we thought we might drown. I had a moment of clarity in that cold, desperate silence, and told the girl I was with that I loved her, a feeling I had been holding in for too long. After what felt like an eternity, the water began to recede, and we realized we were no longer at risk of flooding. The water had passed, and we were safe for now. We sat there in that strange, dry spot, considering our next move. We knew our batteries were running low, and our packs, left at the entrance of the cave, were likely gone, swept away by the flood. With nothing left but the fear of being stuck with no supplies, we started debating which way to go. We could follow the dry passage we had not explored yet, or take the known, water-surged route out. We decided we could not afford to explore the new passage. We would have to go the waterway out. To our surprise, as we navigated through the cave, we met two other cavers who had also been caught in the surge. They were soaking wet and just as desperate to get out. One of the cavers, a fearless man, volunteered to scout ahead, finding safe zones through the flooding tunnels while the rest of us followed. We took turns, moving quickly from one safe area to another, knowing that the surge could come at any moment. As we crawled through one of the tight passages known, I had a terrifying realization. I had surveyed the cave upstream earlier, and I could hear the distant roar of the water rising again. There was a risk that the current could overpower us if we get stuck in this narrow crawl. The passage was not tight like a mouse hole, but it was low enough to be dangerous in the event of another surge. If we got caught, the pressure of the water would be deadly. I was second in line as we crawled through the passage, hearing the others ahead of me, but something strange happened as I crawled. I started hearing footsteps I could not place, and a person who was not part of our group seemed to have joined us. This person was moving just as fast as we were, and at first, I thought it was one of the others, but I soon realized it wasn't. My heart started to race, and I felt a chill run down my spine. We were crawling fast, but the more I thought about it, the more I became sure that someone had joined our group without a word. I pushed on, not knowing what to make of the situation, until I finally emerged from the passage and saw the others waiting for me. but there was something off. There were only 4 of us in the room, not 5. I asked the others if they saw anyone else, and they all looked at me as though I was crazy. I could not explain it, but I was certain I had heard and even seen someone else with us. Some have suggested that this was an instance of third man syndrome, where you hallucinate the presence of an additional person in life-threatening situations, but I did not know what to believe. We quickly grabbed our bags, which to our surprise were still dry, untouched by the floodwaters. It was almost as if the cave had never flooded at all, even though we knew it had. We did not question it too much and just hurried to get out. When we finally reached the surface, we realized that we had missed our call-out time, but rescue would not have been mobilized until the next morning anyway. Still, we had narrowly escaped a disaster. Looking back, I know we made a series of mistakes. We were hungover, made poor decisions about our route, and left our bags behind without considering the risks. The weather had been rainy, and though it was not actively raining when we entered the cave, we should have expected the flooding. We also left our GoPro behind, so we don't have footage of the terrifying water surge, which is something I wish we could have recorded for reference. After all of it, I started experiencing anxiety, especially around water. The sound of waterfalls, or even just wind, makes me feel like something dangerous is coming. I don't know if it was just the intensity of the moment, or if it is something deeper, but I don't think I will ever look at a cave the same way again. The cave is a powerful, dangerous place, and I've learned to respect its ability to change in an instant. NJ here. Very peaceful woods around where I live. I very much enjoy hiking through them, riding my bike, and just enjoying the scenery. I live in a generally secluded area, where houses are all a quarter mile to a mile apart. This story happened when I was about 20 or so. Bored one Saturday, hop on my bike, plug in my headphones, and pack some beers in my book bag and plan to be gone for the day. I love doing that kind of stuff. Still do, actually. I had a very creepy driveway about 2 to 3 miles from my house. It's super long and lined with willow trees on either side, and at the end sits an old-style Victorian house. My words really don't do this place justice. It was creepy as shit. No one ever saw anybody come or go to this house. Much talked about within the community, but people would rather talk shit and spread rumors than actually knock on the guy's door and introduce themselves. Decide I am going to investigate. As the day got chillier, I pulled my hoodie up and banked a right into his driveway. Something in my body told me to turn around. Something is not right. I did not listen. I continued on. It was a dirt road, littered with potholes. It had rained heavily the day prior, so it was muddy, and mud had kicked up all over myself. At this point, I was halfway down his driveway, could vaguely see his house through the trees, when I heard a door slam from the distance. I did not even wait to see what the noise was. I turned my bike into the trees on the side of the road and tried my absolute best to blend in with the woods. I army crawled backwards while dragging my bike, not giving a fuck about harvest mites and ticks, and chameleoned myself as best as I could. I heard the sound of wheels kicking up dirt. He was coming down the driveway. I braced myself for the sound of his brakes as he drew closer to me, but he just drove by. He had not noticed me. My heart was going insane. I was terrified. I laid still for an extra 5 minutes just to be sure. He was gone. I debated myself on what to do. Just go home while I was not caught, or continue investigating. Being young, stupid, and slightly drunk that I was, I decided I was moving forward with the plan. Heart still racing, I got back onto the driveway, brushed myself off, and rode my bike up to his house. No one was home. I dropped my bike, while realizing how far away from anything and everyone I was. Very unsettling feeling. House was completely normal, it seemed. I wasted my time, I thought. I got back to my bike, and at this point, it was starting to get dark, and pedaled my way up his driveway while asking myself why I had trespassed on this dude's property. I was angry with myself. He was a normal dude, just like myself and everyone on the street. Those thoughts dropped on the priority list as I recognized the sound of wheels hitting dirt. He was home and making his way down the driveway. I fucking panicked. I went fucking nuts. I did not know what to do. I did the first thing that came to my mind. I literally ditched my bike, threw it in the woods, and booked it through the forest. I never ran faster in my life. I got about 500 feet before a stickler bush tripped me up and I slammed face first into that wet, leafy earth. Without skipping a beat, I popped right up and continued sprinting. I managed to turn around and see if I was being followed. Through the trees, I could see a shadowy figure under the hue of his porch light. I could make out his outline. He was staring right at me. He was not saying anything, wasn't moving. He was just watching. I made my way to the street, right in front of a neighbor's house. I had run about 2 miles through dense, wet forest, and I looked fucked up when I finally made it out to the street. I was really pissed off about the bike, but I knew I had made the right decision. He did not know me or my bike, and I had never been in trouble before in my entire life, not even at detention. By the time I got home that evening, my parents were in the basement and I snuck upstairs, showered, cleaned up, and ran downstairs to grab some food. Thinking about how much I will miss that bike, I laid in my bed and dozed off to sleep. I awoke the next morning to my mom screaming at me, "What the fuck did you do to your bike, you asshole?" I shot right out of bed. How the fuck did she find out? I thought to myself. She led me to the back door, where I could see into my backyard. There was my bike, hanging from my fucking tree. Late one night. Full moon. Birthday party on a water catch near some beaches. Don't know why we were on a water catch, so fuck off and listen. Everyone is drunk and high as shit. 3 of us go back to the cars to get some shit we forgot. Birthday boy grabs the stuff he needed, then headed back for the water catch. Keep in mind, it was only about a 2-minute walk, but it was really dark because there was loads of clouds covering the sky. Other friend and I hold back to talk about something. I can't remember what. We arrived back to the party to find that B-boy never returned. Tried calling him, and he did not return our calls. Eventually formed groups and split up. Some teams scouting beaches, others the road, and my team explored the water catch. While walking along, this really eerie scratching sound appeared like 8 feet away from us, coming from just the other side of the water catch, which is like a 7-foot wall. It sounded like someone dragging a metal object across it. Everyone stopped, looked at each other, stay absolutely silent, begin walking again. Moments later, it started again, and so we all stopped abruptly, and so did it. First nope. Light coming from down the road, but far away. See something run into the nearby vegetation. It was really hard to make out. Pretty sure it was a person, but I don't know. It was really dark. Lights get closer, and it's my friends. We hop in with them, and drive around, calling our friend's name. Hours go by. Hear a blood-curdling scream. Second nope. Phone call. Come help me. I'm on a beach somewhere. I don't know how I got here. I'm really fucked up. You gotta come and find me. There is a lot of small beaches in the area, but you have to go through some forested paths to get there. Eventually find him. He is passed out, but not hurt. Wake him up. Get him home. Phew. A few days later, we find out someone got murdered there that night. Nope. Anyway, since we're in Japan, I will tell you guys about the Nahanza. It's in Shimabara, on the island of Kyushu. Shimabara is pretty famous for that disastrous eruption some years back. Killed a lot of people, and even a portion of the city has been preserved to showcase the tragedy. Anyway, the Nahanza is a giant statue of Buddha sleeping, attaining enlightenment basically, and located in a huge-ass cemetery. Anyway, be me, a handful of years ago, visiting Shimabara with family, 'cause we like to travel and see things. Mom really spiritual, wants to see Nahanzo. Sure, what else is there to do in Shimabara? Walking through the huge cemetery. Didn't realize the statue was in a cemetery. This is strange for a Buddhist statue. Find it. Mom in awe. I am bored and wander off. Pass by several mourners, dressed all in black. Think nothing of it. Keep eyes lowered and looking at some of the graves. Finally look up at grave. Notice someone standing behind it. Wearing all black. Mourner? Why are they behind the grave? Why is their head bowed? Look around. See the whole row of graves have people in black behind them. Think, shit, creeped out. Seeing things again. Nope, nope, nope. Mom finds me. Asks me why I have a strange look on my face. Ask her about the mourners we pass by. What mourners? No one is here but us. The priests aren't even out here. Explain to Mom what I saw. She tells me not to talk to anyone until we are out of the cemetery.